Hi everyone, welcome to Crochet Rocks, and I'm going to show you today how to make these fingerless mitts that are quite short. These are made with the King Cole Glitz yarn, and I'm not sure if it's going to pick it up as well as I'd like, but this is an extremely glitzy yarn. I've made these so that they're nice and small. I've made some that are quite large, but I wanted these to fit like this. I did want the thumb to be defined, so there is a slight kind of shape to them, but I wanted them to be small. So these will fit a small hand to a medium size. Now I haven't got big hands, but I have got wide hands, and these fit me quite well. So I'm going to show you how to do this, and this is also a stitch that I believe I've designed, not come across it before, and if it does exist, I've never seen it. Apologies for my voice. I've still got a bit of a cough, but I think I need to get on with these now. So for this will take approximately just one skein of this King Cole Glitz yarn. It's a DK weight, but it is quite thin, and because of that I'm going to use a 4mm crochet hook. I've got my darning needle and a pair of scissors. So for this I'm going to show you how to do a foundation treble row. We need these to be quite stretchy, so obviously if I did a row of chain there would be no elasticity in it, but for this rib part, which actually does look just like ribbing, we need it to be stretchy, so go over a hand. So for those of you who don't know how to do that, I'm going to show you now, when I find the end of this yarn, that is. Sorry, I will try not to cough. If I do feel the need, I will pause the video and hopefully not cough in your ear. And for some reason I've got a bit of a knot. There we go. So to do this, we need to leave a long tail, because we'll need to sew just a small section up at the end rather than end off and then join more yarn. I just leave a long enough tail. So we need to make a slip knot, and I'm hoping that this is going to show on the camera because I want to make these in this lovely glitzy red. So we're going to do 2 chain, just 2. And I'm going to pause the video while I just go and get my glasses because I've just forgot. Right, so now I've got 2 chain on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and go into that first chain. But you need to make sure you go into the 2 stitches, and just leaving 1 at the bottom, if you can see that. It's quite important that you go into the 2. Otherwise, you end up on this row here, you get a lot of baggy stitches, which don't particularly look nice. So you have to make sure that you go into the 2, yarn over and pull through, so you've got 3 on your hook. Now we're not going to do a treble crochet in the UK, which is a double crochet in the US. We're going to do this slightly differently. We're going to yarn over and pull it through just 1, so we've made a chain. Now I like to hold that and now complete a treble crochet or double in the US. So now we go into that chain that we have just created, but we need to go into the 2 stitches as before. So it is a little bit tricky. You will have to kind of make sure that I'm trying to see what I'm doing with the camera in the way, which isn't easy. So you go into the 2 and pull up your yarn in the same way as normal. Again, make 1 chain. You can see what you're doing. 1 chain. I've got an extra piece there, that's all that was, just split on me, and complete your treble or double crochet. Again, you go into the chain that you've created, make sure you go into the 2 stitches, as I said before. It's quite important that you do that, otherwise it doesn't look very nice at the end. So we make a chain, and then we'll complete our stitch through 2 and through 2. Go into the chain again. So we're kind of making a chain as we go, and then we're completing our stitch. And we do that we need 27 foundation treble crochets or foundation double crochets. So we need 27, and then we're going to make them into a ring. I'll show you once more again. So it's yarn over into the chain that you've created. You must go into 2 stitches, and then we make 1 chain. I'll hold it and it's easier, and then we complete our stitch. And we're going to do that until we have 27. So I'm going to put this on pause and get to the end of the row, and I will show you what to do next. But it looks more difficult than it is. But if you find it easier to hold that chain that you've made, because when you first start doing it, it is a little bit different. So I hold that chain, then I'll do that chain, then I'll hold onto it, and I'll complete my stitch, and then I know exactly where it is to go into that chain. But always try, even if you only go into 1.5 of those, if it splits on you, at least try to get into those 2 stitches, two loops, so that it doesn't make a big baggy stitch, which doesn't look particularly nice. So that's it, we just carry on, and that's this foundation row. It does kind of go a little bit, sort of flay a little bit at the edges, but it's okay. I think it looks kind of cool. So I'm going to pause the video and complete my 27, and I'll pick up again with you when I've finished. Okay, so I've made 27, and now I need to join that to make a cuff. So make sure that this is at the bottom, and we join by going into the top of our 2 chains and doing a slip stitch. Now we've joined. Don't worry about this. This is what the long tail's for. So I'm going to do 1 chain, and now I'm going to do a back post treble crochet or back post double crochet in every stitch along. So this one, for some reason, in my first stitch does seem a little bit on the fat side. So I go in behind it and do a back post treble crochet. We're not doing any turning chain. We're just going to go straight in, and we're going to go around each stitch and make a back post stitch around each one. And so when we get to the end, we're going to go around our chains. So hopefully we should have 28 stitches. I don't think it will matter at all if you have 1 more or 1 less. It's just it's not an absolute essential. As long as it goes around your wrist, then everything's fine. And I don't think 1 stitch here nor there is going to make a difference, because this is all going to be gauged on your size rather than stitch count. So we just go in behind each of our treble crochets or double in the US from the previous round, round it, and we're going to do a treble or double crochet in the US. So we're going to do that in every stitch all the way around until we get back to the beginning. So I'm going to pause the video, and I will see you once I've got all the way around, and I'll show you what it is we do next. Okay, so I'm almost back at the start. So I go, this is my last actual treble crochet or double that I am going in. And now these are the 2 chain, like the last stitch and the 2 chain. So we go around this one as normal, and to bring these together we then go around our first 2 chain. Just ease it in. Now instead of doing a slip stitch, we're just going to carry on going through the back posts and we're going to work in the round. And it doesn't matter, don't worry that it's a triple crochet so it'll look odd at the end. It does actually work its way out. I find it easier when I'm doing back posts, to actually work, like hold my work this way. and just go through the, not obviously when I'm doing it on camera, that's a little bit tricky because I'm not holding it in the usual way, but it's much easier for me to get behind them doing that. See how I mean? It just holding it that way. Allow your fingers to bring it closer. So we just continue going around in a spiral and making our back post treble crochets, back post double crochets in the US, of course. And simple as that, until our cuff measures the right amount. Now, how will you judge that? With the first one, I just slipped it on. But obviously the second one needs to match. So you just keep going until you have exactly the same amount of rows. And if you wanted to figure out how, by doing back post stitches in the round, we have lines. So you can just count the rings, like the trees, just count the rings and make sure you have the same amount of rows. It's quite simple, really. You can see those rings. You feel them on the inside. They're just like a ridge. So if we would, it's because we're doing it in the round, and so we're making this ridge. But you can count them, make sure you've got exactly the same amount. And then when you're on the next stage, you can just, you match it to this. The first one you match to your hand. But so just keep going until your cuff is the same distance as your first cuff, or when you put it on your wrist, it's the right amount. You'll kind of be able to judge it. There's no hard and fast rule about how many rows you do there. It's however wide you would like your cuff to be. So I'm going to pause this now, and I'm going to continue my back post double crochets, back post treble crochets until my cuff is the same as this one, and I'll come back to you again. Here we are. So I've now got, I just need to get back to this stitch here. So I've got a few to do. So I'll just carry on until I am level. And I think it's the last one. And then so I pop them together. That's the same. You've got the same amount of cuff. So to end this, obviously we have now this step. So it's really simple. All we do is a slip stitch into this and pull that, and all of a sudden it's disappeared and it's back. Because we're working in the round, we've now got kind of a straight row. It's fine. So now what we do, and this is my stitch, everybody, da 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 da, I make my 3 loops on my hook as if I'm doing, just bear with me, I'm going to get a drink. Sorry about that, that's better. I just wish this cold would go. It's been a nightmare. So I just need to get some more yarn out. Right, okay, so I'm going to do my stitch as if I'm doing a normal treble crochet or half treble by getting 3 loops on my hook. And I go through 2. So I've got 2 on the hook, go back in, pull up another loop. So I've got 3 on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. And that's my stitch. So it's yarn over, 3 loops, pull through 2, back into the same stitch, pull up a loop, through all 3. And that's as simple as that. And we're going to do that all the way around until we get back to here, and I will show you exactly what to do next. So it's yarn over, into the stitch, pull up a loop like we have 3, pull through 2, back into the same stitch, yarn over and pull through a loop, got 3 again, yarn over, pull through all 3. And that's my Crochet Rocks Stitch. I've never seen this stitch before, so I figured I must have invented it. Unless anybody knows otherwise. But until that time, and this is called the Crochet Rocks Stitch. So it's just as if you're making a normal stitch, through 2, back in, pull up a loop, yarn over all 3. And what I like about this is you've not increased at all, but it does, because it's kind of a nice little wide stitch, it automatically makes your palm part of your glove expand. And that without even thinking about it, which is fantastic. So just keep going until we're all the way around, and I will show you exactly what to do. So I'm going to pause the video after this stitch, and I will meet up with you when I get to the end. Okay, so I'm more or less back at the start. Got a couple of stitches to do. For some reason, my hook is squeaking. It's doing my head in a little bit. I've wiped it a few times, but it keeps squeaking. So now I'm back at the start, and I just slip stitch into that first stitch. Hard to see from this angle. Join it and do a chain and do exactly the same again. Go in each stitch. Don't think that was quite as clean as I'd have liked. I'm going to do that again. I need to pull some yarn out. It's a very difficult angle to work at. I hope it's picking it up. I mean, it's not the best of colours really to do it in red for filming, but I really wanted them red, especially with it being Christmassy. There we are. So we pop that in there, do a chain and into this stitch, and we just start all over again our stitches all the way around, back in, and we work this way in rows this time, going up, and you don't really see the join. It's not like a horrendous seam, but you just keep going until you, when you put it, if you're making it for the first one, you just put it on, and then once it gets to about, it was this row here, like this, you kind of know where you want to stop. But I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows for me. So once you get there, I will pause the video and get you to make at least 8 rows of the stitch, and then I will show you what to do next. Okay, so I've got all the way around. I'm going to do my slip stitch into my first stitch, and I've got my 8 rows. Now for the very first one, how I made my thumb was to make sure I've got a nice long loop so that it's not going to disappear and undo, and I pop it on my wrist. And what I did was I just pinched it like this, and I took it off, which is not so easy when you're holding it. So if you want to, you can grab a stitch marker and you can just pinch it off and grab a stitch marker. But because I did the last one, I know it was 8 stitches. Excuse me. So all I need to do is to pinch that off for 8 stitches like this. And what I might just then, once I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I can just slip stitch like this. And now I'm going to continue in this part only, and I'm going to later on come back and do 1 row around my thumb, and I will be able to pick up 9 stitches, the 8 stitches and the 1 between, and that's what makes that little bit there, you see. So you've got like this nice little V, but I didn't want them to be long. I've got some others that I've made long, but I recommend that you do I did 8. I knew it was 8 because I'd made this one, but I recommend you put yours on because we all have different size hands. And as I said, I don't have big hands. I do have wide hands, but they're not particularly big. So I only wanted mine to come up to here. But you can carry on. If you do, however, carry on, I recommend you decrease 1 stitch at the beginning of the next couple of rounds, obviously, because you don't really want them baggy. But there's these ones I just wanted half wristers. Excuse me, drink time. So now I'm going to continue in the round for 2 rows only. That's this row here and this row here. And I'm going to pause the video and I will come back to you once I've done my 2 rows. Right, so I've got to the end of my first round and I wanted to show you that it is exactly the same as before. You just slip stitch into your first stitch, 1 chain, and do the second round. This will be the last row of this round. Sorry, I was interrupted there and I've forgotten what I was saying. So, yeah, just do another row. This is the last row for this particular body, and then we're going to pick up these stitches here. So I'll meet you when I get back to this point. I've made it all the way around. So now I'll slip stitch into my first stitch, grab my scissors, leave a nice long tail to sew in. I've made some mistakes in the past not leaving a long enough tail and they've come out, and I hate that. So you can leave it at that, some people do, but I prefer to have 1 row of these stitches around that side. Just drop my yarn. So grab my yarn and pull some out, and then in the same way as before, we just pick up the same stitches. So right, I won't do it that way. I need to make sure it won't come undone. So pick it up, and with my first one I'm going to use the 2 threads. Okay, pull it over. It's making a big baggy stitch, which I didn't really want to happen. Okay, so I'm going to work over this this thread as well. So just do 1 chain, pull it tight, and now we just do our stitch as normal. That will kind of work its way into a normal looking stitch as soon as we slip stitch together. So we're going to go in every single one of those 8 stitches around. It's difficult to see, I know. The observant of you may have noticed that I've changed my hook, and that may make it difficult for you to see. So I'm going to put it back. I had to do it because no matter what I did, I could not stop it squeaking, and it was driving me batty. Let's get that tail out of the way. Don't want to include that one as well, do we? To make things a little confusing. So yeah, we'll just pick up those 8 stitches, and you may be able to pick up one in between to make 9. You don't want to make our thumb baggy. If it's confusing for you, you don't have to go over the tail. It's just easier to get rid of it if it's worked over as well. So this is my 8th stitch. You hear that squeaking? It is very annoying. Let's move those tails out of the way. So, so if I pull those together, sorry, knocking the camera. If I pull those together, you see it's quite thin. So we're going to pick up that one in the middle between them. If I can get that out of the way, just pick up that centre, and that will join it nicely. It's hard to do on camera because of the angle that I'm having to work at. much easier to do it if you're just looking at your work. So, and then we'll join that with a slip stitch, and then we're finished. Nice long tail and end off. And we'll just have to work those in a little later. But now we've got our thumb, and we'll excuse the tails once we've popped it on. Get them out of the way. You see, it'll just make that little lip up our thumb, and we've got our wrist there. So grab our darning needle, and first we tackle this. So now you'll see how I struggle to thread on needles. Hopefully not struggling. Hey, cool, at least it didn't. And I do this with the back facing me, and I just make sure I get it into the very corner and just over so. Basically it will kind of hide itself, just over so, that little gap together. So just to close it, one more stitch in there, and then I always make a little knot by going through my loop, pulling it tight, and then just bury the tail like we normally would. And I like to go back and forwards a few times with this because it's an unusual stitch. These back posts don't want it finding its way out at all, so I go through a few times just to bury it. That'll do. It should stay hidden now. And then do the same with these three, which I won't subject you to watching me, and then we're done and we've got our pair of gloves. So I hope you've enjoyed that tutorial, and if you wouldn't mind, please hit that subscribe button, like and share this video, and just keep your eyes peeled. There'll be some more soon. I'm going to do some longer gloves. I've made this set and this set and this set and I made this set. They're all different, so I'm going to do some more tutorials very shortly for gloves, if that's what you're looking for. And I also have a tutorial coming out soon for this Christmas stocking. So thank you so much for watching, and bye bye for now, everyone.